Speaker, if this is not good news, then what is? Mr. Speaker, just before I move on, the fact that the divisions of the speech will be coming, I listened quite carefully to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Prime Minister in his address, when he noted that we have to do some work to put up things down. We also have to ensure that Minister of Tourism after Minister of Tourism after Minister of Tourism would have gone out and done excellent work in terms of negotiating with Royal and Carnival and these other cruise lines. And now that they are coming, we have to ensure that they are ready. And every single citizen is a stakeholder in the tourism sector. I want to repeat that. Because some persons have the view, because I don't drive a taxi, tourism doesn't affect my life. And because I don't have a restaurant and I don't have a bar. But then your daughter is in Caville studying tourism and hospitality. And you would have already gone to take out a loan to send a child to Grenada to do studies in the field. Or your son is an upcoming entrepreneur who wants to get into business in tourism. And I say this particularly on the issue of littering and the need for us to lift our quality and our standard. And this goes, everybody must work harder, including the minister, straight across the board. Mr. Speaker, I now move to harnessing fresh perspectives from within the Ministry of Tourism and Industry. Because as a sector evolves, there is always a need for a sense of newness in thought, in ideas, a freshness, and almost renaissance, a rebirth of longing within the sector. During the course of 2012, I have discussed already with the Permanent Secretary, we have to create an avenue, a window, where all persons who have graduated from university with expertise in tourism or hospitality to work along with the ministry in one way or the other. Whether it's by meetings at the ministry, whether it's by going on field trips where you can visit sites and give us some ideas, and definitely once persons come forward and assist you, you also have to ensure that when the foreign investors come to the country, that you also point these young persons, these investors, as persons who can head or who can lead or drive from a national standpoint in the industry. Mr. Speaker, the indicators will show that this year, 2012, we'll continue to visit the schools because we have to speak to the next generation of persons who will come to sell their services in the tourism sector and also in industry. And it is very important to teach the young ones so that they can understand and appreciate the importance of the sector while they are in school. Community Tourism and National Awareness 2012. Mr. Speaker, I have said this before and I will say this again in this honorable house. I am not going to sit in an armchair up there in a high fashion building in the Ministry of Tourism playing with a park tent. I am going to go to the constituencies and the communities and ensure that the voice of tourism reaches every single citizen during the course of this year and next year. Because we want more participants to understand and appreciate what the Ministry of Tourism is doing. You know, I had the opportunity to visit Savannah, Georgia. And, you know, sometimes when you see the package, or the packages that you purchase as a tourist, you realize that we have a lot more potential here in the Philippines that we can even fully develop. And we have to start to develop. Mr. Speaker, just on the tour, a trolley tour, major overtop, a major from England, to Georgia, to Dockatown, Savannah, and now they're making millions of dollars taking people to see a building, a tree root, to the trees 400 years old, and you pay, you come out, you take a picture. But Mr. Speaker, just right there on that tour, and I spoke to National Park Service, right here in St. Vincent, and it may be the guess of anybody, there is a constituency with 5 tunnels. Why can't we call it the tour of the 5 tunnels? Why can't we do a comprehensive study of the history of each tunnel? You could go to London surveys and get a map of the constituency. You could put it from a map from Google Earth and flag each tunnel. You can train persons in the constituency to appreciate and to explain the history of each tunnel. One of these tunnels, and I know by now for those of us who are from the Union side, we know the only constituency is by tunnels. Is the constituency of North Central. You start in Byra, there's one in Three Rivers. If you start in Park Hill, there's one in Three Rivers, there's one in Byra, one at Black Point, and there's one that is not developed on Grand Table. And here, persons in the rural community, we sell the tour to parade or to other persons. And when a cruise ship comes, instead of going only to the traditional sites, you can go to these places. But we have to begin as a people to harness the historical and geographical resources we have and to streamline them in such a way that the Ministry of Tourism and tourism sector and tourism authority can all benefit. And our people also appreciate them. I spoke to an investor on the weekend. He told me that, you know, when persons come at your resort and they spend 12 days, after the first 2 days and they finish go to the gardens and Port Charlotte, and then they go down to the Grenadines on a tour. When they come back, they want something to do. They want to go somewhere every day. Not that they want some persons go on the honeymoons and they don't want to come outside, but there are many persons who want something to do on a daily basis. And every single constituency, as Minister of Tourism working with the Ministry of Tourism and the Tourism Authority, we are going to spread far and wide and attempt to develop 150 square miles in this country, ready for when we take off in 2014. The takeoff in 2014 missed by the 4-hour presentation by the leader of the opposition. Mr. Speaker, the IAASTF, the International Airport and Ancillary Services Task Force, this body is put in place to ensure that there is a seamless transition in terms of ancillary services when the Argyle International Airport is open in 2014, and we have already started our meetings. We're meeting with stakeholders, we're meeting with government agencies and bodies, critical planning, land and surveys, health and the environment, so that we can create the correct environment for this seamless transition. Mr. Speaker, we'll be embarking on a legislative overhaul in 2012. And this is of significant importance, and this will be piloted to a large extent by the Tourism Authority as it pertains to the standards. And I want to commend the CEO of the Tourism Authority and the staff of the authority for taking this very important issue to the fore in lifting the standards in the tourism sector in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a long way to go, but the important thing is that we have started. Mr. Speaker, in a recent cabinet discussion, the cabinet came to the conclusion that in order to be competitive in tourism in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with our neighbors, we have to first understand and appreciate and study very carefully the legislative calendar and agenda and hardware of our competitors. Some persons may wonder why a ship may come or go to Castries, St. Lucia, and overnight, and we do not have ships overnighting here on a regular basis. But if you look at it carefully, many of these islands have far more competitive legislation on the books that provide that framework that is an incentive. Mr. Speaker, since that discussion I've traveled to Barbados, I've gone to Cable Campus to do research, and what was most delightful is that I didn't have to hire anybody to assist me. A group of invention students spent 3 days assisting me with the research. They have been able to compile these documents, and in 2012 we will be assessing internally before sending off to the Attorney General's chambers after Cabinet will have given instructions. The Bed and Breakfast Incentive Act, the standards and regulations are being done by the Tourism Authority already. The Cruise Ship Overnighting Incentive Act, the Hotel Guest Levy Act, Water Taxi Regulation, and I know this will be very important for the Grenadines, and particularly since we are facing some hiccups in how the water taxis operate. And the Beach Control Act, and I heard that the Honorable Prime Minister made perfect reference to the fact that persons are taking their pit bulls on the beaches, you have to be tighter. Nothing will spoil your vacation more. If you are on the beach and you are bitten by a dog, that is not the kind of PR we want to see on the internet. That is not something that we can afford as an emerging destination. 7, the Tax Incentives Act will be studied, the one in Barbados, so that we can fully appreciate whether or not we can offer incentives, and we can use it as a base study, because persons will definitely be leaving up their investment in taxis and rentals as we open or move closer to the opening of the Argyle International Airport. Mr. Speaker, I'm on to a very exciting topic. And it is about making our site fully functional in 2012. Mr. Speaker, I inherited excellent sites. I must commend the Minister of Tourism who came before me to do excellent work in developing these sites. He has left the sites for me. It is for me to ensure that they become fully functional. Mr. Speaker, please permit me to just read a bit from a report handed to me that was commissioned by the ministry and was done by National Park. Recently, on October 17, 2011, 5 vending units were awarded to 3 individuals and community-based groups from North Windward to operate these units at Bowyer Saltman Recreation Park. If I have a site and I cannot leave Kingston now and go there and have lunch, or when I get to the site, the person who's up there's nobody to take on to walk the site. There are no rules or regulations. And I'm saying this not in the context of casting blame, but outlining my duty, because the sites are already built, and it is now the duty of the Ministry of Tourism to ensure that these sites do not just lie follow. We have to properly engage these sites.